Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's December 18th and it's time to take a garden tour. I think a good place to start this tour is up here at the Victory Garden. And it might be almost the winter solstice, but we've got broccoli coming on. Hopefully the cool weather that we've been having won't come out and freeze the heads. Most of them are really small. There's a few that are getting a little bigger, maybe even we'll be ready to cut by the end of the week, but I suspect about 2 weeks. Now we've taken out all the Shuichoi cabbage, and we'll replant this with something. We've got a Cherokee purple tomato that's come up voluntarily, and it's been coming along okay, being it's been pretty cold. Now, right here, our Savoy Perfection cabbage, it's starting to make a head. Won't be long. We'll get the taste and see how the flavor it is. Some of the radicchio is trying to head up. Now, a lot of times we harvest this and we don't wait for the head. We just harvest it this fall, about the size that it is now, and take it to market. Now, let's go on down this row first so we stay organized. Our Mitchell some of this is going to seed. As you can see, this one here is bolting up, and this one's bolting up, and I was not going to, I said I was going to take them out, but I think I'm going to leave this little area down here to collect some seeds, being I don't know what happened to my other one. Now, we have our little cauliflower right here. I don't know if there's a little head. I'm not going to open up all its leaves to find out, but it is doing good. We're also got some Mitch Healy here, and some is going to seed. I got the thinking it's been over, was November 28th when we did our last garden update. You know, we've been in the garden and done other videos, but we didn't do an update. But these peas, these are, I think, Alaskan snow peas is what these are, but these are snow peas. And they're doing good as far as blooming now. Our bok choy is all of it's going to seed, whether it's coming up with real noticeable or where it's just starting to form. Now, these can be eaten. We don't take them to market when they get like this. We picked everything that was marketable this last Friday, and so we won't have any this week. But the chickens are going to love it. They're going to love it. Let me tell you. And these snow peas, these are just fantastic. I'm going to have to eat behind the camera. I done had one of these this morning, and they're really tasty. But we're going to go ahead and let them fill up with peas if I don't eat them all. But they're just blooming up a storm. Now I want to talk about planting dates while I'm here. These were planted earlier than what they recommend. And the reason they recommend the date that they do, some could be pest pressure, but some of it could be it's still too hot and they don't like that heat. But I supplemented them real good with plenty of water so they wouldn't dry out. And as you can see, they're really advanced for this time, because right now is kind of the time for planting these. And they grow slow with cooler weather, just like everything. This Hilton cabbage here, normally it would be 2 to 3 times as tall. At this point, it's 2 factors that's really keeping it down. And this is what you need to do when you plant your garden, is be aware of where you're planting. Now, I'm not going to worry about it. It'll do just fine. But these peas, as they grow up over here, they're shading it more and more. Now, as the day goes on, the sun gets a little higher. They do get sun. They get enough to do good in that benefit. But a lot of times I plant stuff like that into the shade so it'll be heat protected, and I can grow it longer in the season. So that's another thing. But these have been blooming for a while. They set real good pods, and they have a real good sweet pea flavor. Well, let's see. In the greenhouse here, we finally we got out, did our fiddler kraut cabbage. Now this is I tell everyone it's kind of like the early Jersey as far as the shape. It's more of a cone shaped cabbage, but this is a big one. This does about 10-pound head, so it's definitely going to be a big bunch. But it's supposed to be a real good sauerkraut cabbage, so we'll see, because I've been wanting to. Now our celery down in here. Now we could put something here and make this blanch up, but the flavor is so much better on homegrown celery. As far as, and that's the thing about recipes. If somebody gives you a recipe and they go to their own garden and they put their own spice in, it could be totally bland. They might put in a half a tablespoon or something, or half a teaspoon, and with that store-bought herbs or things like celery, you might need twice as much just to get that same flavor. Now I need to get down here. I'm not going to say I have to get down here and take these chives, pull them out, and I'll replant them. You can see when chives grow, they just keep multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. And where you have just one or two chives, you end up with a big old bunch of plants. And they do a lot better. They'll do okay like this, but they do a lot better if you separate them out, and then you can give away a bunch of them. But it don't take much, like the seed that's come up over here. Now I did dig up some chives and gave them to somebody of one of the seeds that got wild, but I have some there. I had one in the greenhouse, and Vicky thought it would look close enough to a weed, so she got rid of it. Now over here we've got our spinach. Now we've had good success with spinach this year. The different varieties. Now this is Bloomdale down here. Thing I noticed about it is its leaves will yellow more when it gets real cold compared to some of the others. But as far as it does have a good healthy leaf, and it's done pretty good. And the way we harvest this is we cut the whole row. We don't snap them off, because and we haven't had the problem this year because we've kind of, I think, got our soil conditions and our beneficial insects and stuff are starting to get balanced. So a lot of these plants don't have the problem. Now this area up here has root knot nematodes real bad, but a lot of these winter vegetables, they're unaffected by them, so you don't have to worry. Now down here we have some more broccoli. This is a couple weeks behind the other, but you can see it's just now starting to set little heads in there, so it won't be long. It'll start to get ready to harvest too. Now this here is giant noble lettuce or spinach, and it does get a lot bigger, but everything in the wintertime grows slower. But don't let that slow you down, because when you grow your vegetables in the wintertime just like this, they're going to be a lot more nutrient dense. They're not just shooting up and full of water and such as that. You've got a lot more nutrients. It's got more time to pull them up. It's sweeter because of cool weather, so the flavor is better. As far as, I'm not a guy to put sugar with stuff, but when you start eating vegetables, a lot of them are so good when they're sweet. Now we have our the rest of our cauliflower right here. And this has got to be putting up ahead because it's just rolling down, and I wasn't going to get all in there, but no, it's too hard to get all those leaves open because the cauliflowers that I have planted here are self-blanching, and what that means to the uninoculated is that the leaves, it's been, I'd say, engineered, but they found strains that are more likely to curl the leaves in so it keeps the head white, or it blanches it by itself. Now we have a lawsonata kale. I can say that word. It took a long time. Used to just say dinosaur kale, which either way is good. We've been harvesting some of that. And over here we have our French breakfast radish. Now, if you're not a real big radish fan, the French breakfast radish is really a mild one. I grow 4 or 5 different types, depending on when it is. But if you don't like that hard bite, they're a lot sweeter, especially this time of year, and they're not as spicy as a lot of the other ones. And if a lot of people, they'll grow the radishes and then they'll take and roast them. They'll cut them in half, put them in the oven with some seasoning, and roast them, and that takes away virtually all it changes the flavor completely. Our chard here, Vulcan chard, it's doing real good. But we have this weed coming in here. And this is a turnip seed that was in with the chard. Got a little turnip there. I think we'll just let that go. It's no need to, we don't have to worry about it. And then the rest of this row here is early Jersey cabbage. Sorry for that pause. I'm still chewing on that piece of spinach. Wasn't tough, but it does have some texture. Now, over here, of course, we have our herbs and our winter herbs that we walk over. Well, we have our cilantro right here. This is the latest batches. Well, I say the next to the last. We had just put that in the little greenhouse right now. Now our lemon balm and our spearmint. We've had some days it's been below 28, and as you can see, there's no sign of any suffering. They take good cool weather. Our turmeric, we'll probably dig this out here pretty soon, and we're going to go ahead and plant it in our bed over there that we're dedicating to it. But a lot of these other herbs, they're hanging in there, but they don't look that good. The lavender is kind of, I mean, it's still going, but it don't look that good. And we've got some tarragon and some are savory here. And pretty soon they're going to be mixed, because when they seeded, they drop their seeds all over, and they're kind of hard to tell apart. And then, of course, our catnip down here. It's doing good. It does not mind the cold either. Now we've got our onions going, and they're doing good. And I just want to make a note of this one spot right here. You can see how there's hardly any onion. And this is due to mole traffic. You can see kind of a sunken spot right there, but the moles go back and forth and disturb the roots in this one area. And if I was to do something and stop the traffic here, they would go somewhere else. So eventually maybe I'll find a system that works, but not right now. Another note on the onions are, these onions are doing really good. Of course, we've got 2 different types. This side here, over here, are 1015Ys, or we call them noonday onions. It's a super sweet onion. And then the ones on the other side there are red guano. So I think it's red guano. I don't think it's red Creole, but anyway, it's a red onion. And you can see they're both doing well, even though these were put in a little bit later, and but they're doing real good. Of course, we still haven't taken out the habanero. Now these onions here, you can see how these are small, which they were planted last, but because the amount of shade, because right now they're still getting shade, and they'll get shade for a while, this whole row, they aren't doing as well as the same variety, and I think that's red onions, but they're not doing as well as these on that side. So it makes a difference how much sun they get. Now we've got a really good stand of elephant garlic in here. It's really doing well. We need to get in here and do some weeding. Don't think that you can let your weeds grow up around your onions if you're in garlic, if you're wanting real good bulbs off them, because they don't compete well, or they will bulb, but they don't compete as good when they have to compete with weeds. We did that year before last, I believe it was. We planted a whole lot of onions, and the grass grew up because we didn't take care of them. We're fixing to get out here and do these ones. Now this is our another variety of garlic, and then this is another variety of garlic. Now in the south, or in the warmer areas, we'll plant our onions and garlic, and up north some of y'all might put your garlic in the ground in the winter, but when it freezes, it's not going to do anything. But in the south, ours is going to grow. We have some more French breakfast radishes there. We have right there, we have a volunteer garlic. That's from a nodule that was left over from pulling garlic from another year. And we've got all our other onions over here, and they're all doing good. Now, the thing about onions are, last year when it got real cold, and hopefully they won't do that to us again this year, but the onions that were really small, like these over there, did real well, but the ones that were bigger, it bit them back, and they come back as doubles. So we still had a lot of onions from them, but it hit the bigger ones harder. Even though we covered them, that's one reason why we said we're not covering that stuff this year. We've got a few volunteer plants here. I've been cutting out deal in different places, because when I let it go to seed to save my seeds, it decides it's going to jump out and take over. Our carrots are doing good. Like I say, this one's thin. Carrots the same way with weeds. It doesn't take much to come in there and weed them. Now, I come over here and I pedaled and I cleaned the weeds on this side just one day, and I didn't do the other. But sometimes, you know, you just dedicate your time, however. Now our asparagus, you can see the tops are dying back. We're fixing to cut this out. Same, we're going to take this cilantro out in here. It's you can come down in here and you can tell when it starts to bolt, which a lot of this isn't. It does have some areas bolting and coming up, but a lot of it is just big, healthy plants. You can see the difference in the leaves on the top of this. This is bolting up, and you can tell when you look down, you can see a stem in here where it starts bolting out. And a lot of times, if I'm still wanting to harvest, because warmer temperatures is really hard to keep from bolting, I'll cut that stem back to the bottom when they do that, and then I can keep harvesting and be good. Now, down here at the end of this big old plant, these are crimson giant radishes, but they're getting a whole lot of nitrogen from this bed being recoated with my wood chip compost. and with that nitrogen, it just makes them go crazy. They hadn't had any fertilizer put on them. That's just the way a lot of that does. Now we're going to come over here. We've got our collards. We just harvest some of these for the market. And this is where we grew our garlic last year. We see a pattern coming in here. The elephant garlic, now we try to do good about getting the nodules out, but you just, you can't get them all. And what we're going to do is, and that's one good thing about elephant garlic is basically it reseeds itself because those nodules are pretty good about coming up if you keep it in the same place. But we've got a pretty good bunch of it. Our cabbage here, we've been harvesting a few heads for the market. They're doing all right. Now, my wife said, "What's wrong with this one here?" But we had some really small plants and we just threw them out. And I think it could have just split off, but we had some really small plants and we just dumped them out there and they decided to take hold and go like that. But they're starting to get some decent sized hits for the market, and we've been of course we've been getting us some coleslaw. So, and I guess I better get after making my sauerkraut if I'm going to do it. Now the mustards and turnips, these are doing real good. Actually just harvested some 30 minutes or so ago. We do a mix of mustard and spinach, and so we'll have some of that for lunch. We've been cutting for the market. We try to base whenever we go to the market how much we might sell, but you can't never tell because it gets cold and people don't come out or something. So, but it doesn't go to waste here. The chickens had some this morning that was left over. Now, this cilantro here is going to have to come out. Now, I did harvest it, some off it this past Saturday morning, but that was the last. It's been going to seed. I've been cutting the seed tops out. Our red cabbage, it's done good. Our acre red cabbage, and we have kind of cleaned up where our watermelons are to a certain extent. We still haven't got our new blueberry bushes in. I want to get those in. We've been harvesting some beets out of these. They're starting to get some size. So we've been taking some to the market. The rutabagas, they've been going. She said, well, there wasn't none big enough to take to the market this week, but I think maybe we got one that's, I think 4 or 5 inch is probably marketable size. But we did cover up the pineapples. Hopefully they'll survive. Now I am going to come down here and move these strawberry plants. In fact, it's time that I need to do that now and get them in their new bed, because like I said in previous videos, this is it seems to have some kind of immunity to the spotted leaf fungus, and it's survived out of all the other ones, so I figure we'll take it out. The apple trees still haven't dropped their leaves, and I did take the strap off of this one. I think I've stood it up a certain amount that it should be okay. So we'll get rid of that. And all these peppers, we still haven't got these out. So let's take a look in the greenhouse. There's not too much to see in here right this minute. We are radicchio down here, and I'm fixing the water today. It's in fact, maybe I might even put on the drip system today. We put in, these are some more of those fiddler trout cabbages. They definitely need watered, and it looks like somebody needs to find a worm that's deciding to chew up on one. I don't know where it is, but definitely something got it. And it might not be anywhere close. Those little black woolly worms, they'll come chew on something and then they run off. And if I see them running, they don't get far. But anyway, that's there, and we've got our musclin mix right here. I need to make sure I get the water on as soon as I finish this video, because lettuces and stuff in this musclin mix, it'll really affect it as far as if it gets dry and stresses, it'll start getting better. We have our large Italian leaf parsley right here. We've been harvesting this for quite a few weeks. We also still have to get our last onions a haircut and get them out. Now this musclin mix here is just about played out. We've been pulling out some of the different varieties because they've been starting to bolt. The bananas are in a tent. They'll be in there until after tonight. We've got our other plants down here, our gold herbs. We've got our rhubarb and stuff all down there. Now this rosemary, it should do fine, but we got a little bit more cilantro that needs to be put out, and it definitely needs water. You can see it's wilting down. We've got a next batch of bok choy, and then we've got some more cabbage here. I believe this is early Jersey cabbage. Yeah. So my mind is halfway working. We've got our tomato plants are covered. We got the cover off the top. We've used lights on these. These are definitely growing good because they're blooming. Now, the cool weather, it might get the tip of a leaf or something, and it seemed like it kind of did a little bit of a number on this limb. We rolled it around because it's got tomatoes too on it, but got it to where it's kind of covered. Now we've been really hitting our deal, and I think I'm going to start another batch of it so we can move it somewhere else as this gets older. And we've got our next batch of spinach in here. So, and it's starting to do good. As long as I take care of it, it'll do better in the greenhouse, not because there's no kind of heat supplement to it, but it's just like right now I've got the sides up because when it starts getting full sun, it doesn't take long to warm it up. Now, we don't have tomatoes down here, but we have our cover on it because we have our new batch of cucumber plants down here, and we're going to see if we can't grow our winter cucumbers. You know, if you're like me and you really love cucumbers, the only thing I can say is try. You can't fail if you don't try, I guess, but I think if you don't try, you failed right off. But anyway, that's where we're sitting with the garden. It's just doing fantastic. I got a lot of empty beds. Some of them I just got to leave empty because, you know, springtime's not that far off. It's time to start planting. So give her a big thumbs up. If you want to see more, you know what to do. And share this video. Enjoy that gardening experience.